It's just the reflexive response you see from so many. When they see the police, they think the worst. They don't realize that the reason you have so many more police there is for their safety and for the safety of the people they're trying to get out of there. They automatically assume officers are going to escalate and inflame. The goal is to de-escalate. It's been the protesters who've been forcing the physical confrontations by locking arms and refusing to move. The last thing these cops want is violence. The media loves to talk about the police in riot gear as if that shows they're getting ready to do battle. Members of the media aren't the ones who are going to have to break through barricades, not knowing what's waiting for them on the other side or how aggressive the protesters will be. Wouldn't it be nice if rather than waiting for them to fail or talking about how, well, they're going to definitely use too much force, is it too much to ask to say that people would be rooting for them? Is it so terrible to want the guys and women being called in as a last resort to succeed? So look, I don't have a problem saying job well done. I mean, it's something you just don't hear often enough. Part of that NYPD team that was there that night was Tarik Sheppard, the Deputy Commissioner of Public Information for the NYPD, and he gave us some insight into exactly what the NYPD encountered. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so you brought with you an actual piece of the chain that they were using to try to prevent the police from coming in. Talk to us. And that thing is heavy.
Right, it is. This is right out of Hamilton Hall. And, you know, students buy these to lock up bikes and make sure they don't get stolen. Professionals use these to keep the police out. And that's what we're dealing with on every door that you could enter Hamilton Hall. We had to cut through these with our emergency services unit, which obviously slowed down our response, but of course didn't stop us.
And what was the strategy going in? I mean, talk to us about what the top brass was telling officers as they prepared to go.
Right, so I led and sat in, well, Chief Madry, our chief of department, led the planning meeting, but I had a lot of input on what was going to take place and how we were going to handle certain things. And the first thing we had to do was deal with the outer perimeter of Columbia. We still had a lot of protesters in the area, and we can't enter that building and start working, or that encampment and start working, until we make sure that that perimeter is safe to do so, and we don't start having people flank us from the rear. So we dealt with the outer perimeter. Then we moved in and we handled the encampment and the building simultaneously, and that's where you see things like our Bearcat, our emergency services, our SRG unit, our CRT units moving in to clear the encampment in the building. So that was the plan.
Were you surprised this went as smoothly as it did?
No, I'm not surprised. We have some very highly trained officers. We picked the right people. We picked our senior leadership to come and run each sector of this operation, and we picked our emergency services to lead the charge in going into that building. And they want some of the highest trained police professionals in the country, if not the world.
You weren't just there helping to cut down the chains. You're also the public information officer, right?
Yes.
And it does seem, as I was just talking about, like, you know, the media is often rooting against the cops, right? It's talking about how militarized everyone looks. And yeah, talk to me about that. Is that frustrating?
Yeah, some of that's disappointing, but I think we, at a time like this, we have to stay focused. We have to stay focused on our plan. We have to keep ourselves safe, and then we can critique some of this stuff afterwards. I didn't even know about a lot of this until I haven't been asleep yet.
Yeah.
So
probably just saw it for the first time just here, right?
Yeah. So I'm actually seeing myself on some of these interviews.
Yeah.
On some of the video that's playing. But while I was up there, myself, Commissioner Daughtry, riding on that Bearcat to enter that second floor window, you know, you're extremely focused because you don't know what's going to be on the opposite side of those doors, those windows, and on the opposite side of those fortified entrances.
Was there any resistance from any of the protesters?
Yeah, absolutely. So our emergency services first dealt with a lot of debris and material that was just in their way, these chains, vending machines, refrigerators, chairs, everything they could find to barricade the doors. When they started trying to make entry, they then got objects thrown at them from people who were inside of that first floor of Hamilton Hall. They had to use a distraction device to back them up, and when they did that, they were able to safely enter and then make arrests of about 40 to 50 people in Hamilton Hall.
In terms of officers, any officers injured? I mean, I would assume relatively small injuries must have happened.
Yeah, you know, I don't think we have any reported serious injuries. There may be some minor bumps and bruises, some cuts. I'm getting old, so my knee hurts a little bit. But we're doing fine, and I think most of the people who we took into custody, it was without incident. It was a job well done.
Well, look, I'm going to say to you what I said before. Thank you. Thank you for what you guys did. I know the cops didn't want to be there. You guys didn't ask to be there. You didn't call to be there.
Absolutely.
You were there, and I thank you for what you did and for what you do. Thank you for watching. Go to NewsNationNow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.